What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is going to be my comprehensive analysis and discussion video on C Duel Infantry 4 and the best users of it from the free-to-play pool as well as the premium pool. I'll also have a tier list for each section, and if you do enjoy these kinds of in-depth analysis, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe, as these videos take a lot of hours to make. And with that said, let us begin. So we'll start with Yuri, of course, who is the wielder of C Duel Infantry 4 in a sense, and he's present on a sparking banner, which means that there's really not much gambling. You can guaranteed get him after a spark, and he's probably going to have a rerun down the line as well, so he's going to be in the permanent summoning pool. He also provides you with time pulse, and you can inherit both of these skills at the same time if you've got Loki and her C Duel Infantry 3. Like any other tier 4 dual skill, this skill can boost up the score of your unit to 180 BST for Colosseum game modes, and if they're legendary or mythic unit, then it only can boost your score to 175. This kind of dual skill is to be only used on units who are plus 10 merged, or you're about to plus 10 merge them for arena usage. With that said, let us begin with the free-to-play pool and the best users of it. So in my opinion, the best user of it is gonna be MARIANNE'S. I wanna give a big disclaimer at the start. Before you inherit any kind of C Duel Infantry 4 to a 175 BST unit like Innes, make sure that he actually increases your score, like average team score, after getting the tier 4 dual skill, because with these kinds of units like Innes who can reach 175 BST naturally by their super boon, they might not really increase your overall team score depending on the other members of your core. So that's why before you inherit this skill, it is very important for you to keep that in mind, because it only increases your score by 2 points, and we are in Gen 6 and the score ceiling is going to be going higher, so every single point matters for scoring in arena. So in that sense, this kind of dual force skill on a unit like MARIANNE'S would make sense in the future, in the long term, but you gotta keep in mind that depending on your team, this might not even change your overall team score. So just check the arena calculator linked in the description, play it around before making any kind of decision, because I don't want you to waste your C Duel Infantry 4 if your team score doesn't really get increased by this. So this is a disclaimer for MARIANNE'S here. So he's just amazing with time pulse, having that pre-charged Ruptured Sky and his Deadeye weapon. So that is just giving him really fantastic offensive power out of any kind of free-to-play unit available in the colorless pool. MARIANNE'S is plenty offensive, so you can invest a bit more into his defense with attack defense form, so that he can just bait out some units in the enemy phase, like Legendary Claude for example. And after MARIANNE'S, we have Resplendent Sothe, being pretty much the second best user of C Duel Infantry 4 in my opinion. So he has got a Weapon Refine, and he has also got the Resplendent stats, making him a fantastic user of this skill with his Weapon Refine that can charge up the specials of your units. So you can just charge up higher cooldown specials like Gale Force, Ether, or even have pre-charged Ruptured Sky, or just charge up Blue Flame and stuff like that. Panic Smoke is going to be pretty nice in arena because most units are going to be running Rally there, and you can already just have the Spectrum debuffs on the opponent. So Panic debuffs do stack up with the Spectrum debuffs, which makes for debuffing the opponent completely. So he's a fantastic user of it. And then we have got Gangrel, who's also a really nice user with his Levin Dagger. A Menace skill in Slot C is going to be activating his Levin Dagger condition pretty easily, or you could even have a Ruse skill on your team. You can have Null Follow Up so that he can do more true damage with his Levin Dagger essentially, and the true damage is going to be pretty nice with Attack Rest Solo, so you can invest into his attack in my opinion. He's plenty fast with Attack Speed Menace and with the extra speed from Levin Dagger. So again, a pretty nice dagger unit, and he can do a lot more damage than you think at first because he gets the true damage based on its resistance. You can also invest this into your Kronya. As we all know, Kronya is a really popular merge project because everyone just cannot help but love her personality from Three Houses. She was such an important and memorable character, honestly. So yeah, you can go with Quarterly Fan build with Windsweep, because a Thame Dagger isn't really all that good in arena. You're not going to be Vantage sweeping units who hit like 50 defense, so that's why the whole Vantage strategy just doesn't work in arena, especially in higher tiers of arena, in like tier 21. So that's why Quarterly Fan Windsweep is the best option for her in my eyes, and this can be obtained from the Divine Code section quite easily. and she can be extremely fast with this as well. So the fact that you can get the partial null follow-up to get the wind sweep effect is really good for just chipping down the health of the opponents, and that makes her a pretty nice debuffing unit who can safely attack into very high attack and very defensive units. Kagero is also an option. She gets that damage reduction from Kagero's start, but unfortunately her low HP leaves her quite vulnerable in my opinion. Null follow-up is going to be helping you. As it is, she gets the damage reduction and she can survive even some lethal hits with that, and null follow-up helps you just get past the follow-up negation. Blade Session is there to make sure that she can get the most amount of attack to activate her weapon, and that's why Joint Drive Attack is also going to be helping you. Norne is also a pretty popular merge project as an infantry archer. Of course, she doesn't really have the raw strength of young Ines, but still she can be quite bulky with a Spendthrift bow, and null follow-up is going to be quite helpful. You can also stack up the debuffs from Spendthrift bow with attack, defense, menace, and the fact that she's so bulky means that you can many times just bait out the units in the enemy phase, and that is a big boon over a lot of the units here who cannot really have the bulk to bait out many of the units. So Norne functions well in both phases, but her damage output at times is going to be lacking, so you need to make sure that you can stack up as much attack as you can on her to just bust through a lot of the high defense units. Clarisse is also a pretty nice option because of her splash damage and the debuffs that she can do with Sniper's Bow. And it might seem like a meme, but double poison strike with the chip damage from her weapon is really good because you're essentially doing 27 true damage to the opponent if they do not have Mystic Boost or something like that. And usually in Arena, units are not going to be running Mystic Boost that much. So this is a pretty nice build of completely weakening down the tanks and the high defense units with Clarisse with safety, because she has got a conditional fire sweep bow, which is quite unique for a free-to-play archer in my opinion. So pretty nice option. Leon here can pretty much do what young Ines can do, but not as good because he can pretty much have Deadeye at 1 cooldown with Time Pulse, and Bow of Beauty does give him the -1 special cooldown. It also has the impact effect built into it, but many times you can definitely bait out units like Legendary Claude and just retaliate back with your Deadeye and kill him. So that's an option because Leon's bulk on physical side is definitely pretty nice. Tanya is also another option, not as good as young Ines or even Norne in my opinion, but still, she was a Pharma unit, so if you got expensive skills on her, then this can be an option for your +10 Tanya with a Pelagian Bow. Pelagian Bow has fantastic synergy with the attack, defense, menace skill, and again, similar to Norne, Tanya also needs all of the help that she can get on her attack stats, so that's why Pelagian Bow, Spendthrift Bow are both really good options for these kinds of free-to-play archers. Then we move on to a bit more supportive roles. Here we have Virion and Fallen Takumi. Virion might seem like a meme, but honestly Dignified Bow is pretty nice for providing that panic effect, and as I said, everyone and their mom uses some kind of rally skill or visible buff in Arena, so this is extremely useful. His combat is not going to be that impressive, but still he has got the high HP and decent enough physical bulk. But mostly you should be using him as a support unit with a ruse skill and a joint drive skill so that he can support your other arena core units while he also provides the panic. Definitely have to watch out for Harsh Command Plus when you're going to be using Virion. Takumi is also an option. After his weapon Refine, he can also do some passive damage on turn 2. But the thing is that in the maps where you're facing like these horizontal maps, but still he can be used as a long range support unit because he can do that chip damage and also panic them. So something like that is definitely going to be necessary to play with him. And then we have got some healers and Natasha leading the way for the free-to-play healers. Healers are an option, but I would really never recommend them to free-to-play players because they do not score high whatsoever, and the reason being is that they do not have high scoring assist skills or specials. As you can see, Return Plus does not score as high as a Rally Plus skill, and any kind of Bomb Plus skill does not score as high as Ether, Gale Force, Blue Flame, Ruptured Sky, all of those specials which score 500 SP. So because of the low SP cost, they score less in Arena, and to just give you a perspective of how low they score, here's a comparison. Here you see a C Duel Infantry Sothe scoring 754, and a Gen 1 armored unit like Shinon scores 750, and infantry healers with C Duel Infantry 4 score even lower than a Gen 1 armor unit, which is definitely pretty annoying for scoring perspective. So only invest into these healers if you're in like interval 19 or you have multiple +10 merge pair up modern legendary units, which I doubt many free-to-play players do, but if you're one of them, then yeah, I guess a healer can make your life easy. Basically, healers can make your life easy, but they score really poorly. And in my opinion, they're not going to be good investments for long term because the score ceiling is going to be going up as time goes on. So I don't really see this as a very good long-term investment, honestly. But if you want to make your gameplay easy, then I guess they're an option, but I still wouldn't really recommend building up healers for a free-to-play player personally, because of the access of the free-to-play units that we have and the scoring that we have to keep in mind. Even for just like tier 20.5, you need to, just make sure that you have got the highest scoring units who can last you many years to come and be a long-term investment. So yeah, I mean, you can run a build like this, but not going to be recommending it too much. And here's my free-to-play colorless infantry duel tier list. So I've mainly done this tier list with how they score, how they perform in combat. I've run simulations against the most common arena units in tier 20.5 and also in tier 21, and those are going to be the plus 10 opponents. So I basically tried to make this tier list as objective as possible, but we have so many free-to-play colorless units that I might have messed up here and there, but still I've tried my best, absolute best on trying to make this tier list as objectively possible as I can. Again, the disclaimer is going to be there, just keep that in mind. So Younginess is definitely the top of the free-to-play units when it comes to deserving C Duel Infantry 4, and after that we have Sothe and Gangrel, to no one's surprise, in tier 1. Then we can have Kronya and Kagero, who can be decent dagger units, but they're not going to be as good as Sothe or Gangrel in tier 2. Norne, Clarisse, and Leon are also options. Leon basically does the thing which Innis does, but a bit worse, because he cannot have a pre-charged special, but he can have a one-turn Deadeye. Clarisse can support in a really unique way for a free-to-play archer with her conditional fire sweep, Tome, and Norne is pretty amazing in both phases with her bulk. In tier 3 we have units who can be decent, but they're not as easy to use in combat compared to tier 2 and tier 1 units, and they do lack in some regard or get outclassed in some way by those units above them. So Saizo can be used with ruse skill, menace skills, and all of those debuffing skills to take the mileage out of his preferred weapon. Matthew has got the preferred broadleaf dagger, but unfortunately his attack stat isn't really all that high. So you can make use of the debuffs from ruse skills, again menace skills, so that he can get the damage output right off the bat. Gaius gets the true damage, but again, the same story, not very high attack stat for a Gen 1 dagger unit. Chad can pretty much run the courtly fan once we build, but Kronya does it much better. And Tethys can be a pretty unique free-to-play dancer, and the reason why a dancer is in tier 3 is because of her scoring. Because dance is not a high scoring assist skill, you definitely take a hit on your scoring, and that is not the best thing unless you have some highly merged or high scoring arena core units. For most free-to-play players, it is not going to be worth running a dancer if you aim for tier 20.5 in my opinion. But again, she can make your gameplay a lot easier, and Tethys is really fantastic because she can run Temari Plus and pretty much also run Sabotage Defense from the Divine Code section and be this kind of debuff dancer. So she's good, but the only thing is that she doesn't have a preferred dance like many of the fairy dancers and stuff like that. Virion, Fallen Takumi provide you with support, but not the best in combat. Tanya does not do as well in combat as Norne, but still is pretty nice. Klein and Gordon are going to be the Brave Bow archers. Klein has got the quad potential, but he needs to survive the hits to quad attack. Gordon can hit a bit harder, and he also can provide the support with his weapon refine to his allies because it's pretty much like a range skill. Setsuna's bow does give her the extra stats in the primary condition, but it only does that against range units, and you're not going to be facing range units all of the time, but she can also get the +5 attack and speed from the refine. She needs the bonus to be active, which is not the hardest thing to do, but still not going to be having the most amount of firepower. And then we've got healers in tier 3 because they don't score as high despite their offenses, despite their support. So Natasha, Emren, and Aremia and Linhardt are pretty much going to be the modern healers which you can invest into because they've got the higher offenses, higher stats essentially. So they are going to be the options, but outside of that, most healers basically suffer from the stat creep. As time goes on, we get better and better healers with higher BST, so the older ones basically go down the barrel because they don't have anything unique to set them apart because healer refines have not happened. Tier 4 has got Felicia, Legault, definitely lacking in the damage output department. Legal just gets, outclassed by Chad, Kronya. He mainly wants to run this kind of courtly fan wind sweep build. Rebecca faces insane competition from Setsuna, Tanya, Norne, all of these archers above her who can have a better combat potential. Jomke is still waiting for some kind of weapon refine. Kazi and Jacob. Jacob's weapon refine is not ideal because it requires an ally to be not at full health. And that is not going to be working in Arena that easily. You need to make sure that a unit, an ally, can enter the combat first before him. Jacob's stat spread also doesn't really do him any kind of favors in specializing in any kind of role like the other dagger units present in this pool. Resplendent Niles, George, and also near male Corrin find their way in the bottom tier because they do not have enough firepower, enough uniqueness, and the archers above them have a better matchup against the common threats. So that is my free-to-play tier list. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Again, I tried my best with this kind of tier list with so many units. And now let's move on to the premium section. So premium section has got Brave Marianne, which we recently got in Choose Your Legends 5. She's pretty much the best overall colorless dual infantry user in my opinion in the entire game because she can provide you with the dance. And that is using dance along with harsh command plus or any rally skill, so she doesn't really suffer with the low scoring dance like the other dancers do, like Tethys for example. So that is really good. And the fact that she can have the damage reduction, have the null follow up, and be pretty nice in the combat as well, it's just the cherry on top. So Marianne is really fantastic with that, but again a disclaimer, she can hit 175 BST on her own, but if your team score does increase by this kind of dual skill, then you can definitely go for it. And then we have Bramimond as the second best option for a colorless mage because he is really bulky, he can hit really hard, and he can function in both phases with his auto follow up. So you can definitely bait out units because he's going to be hitting over 40 defense, and even on his resistance, he is definitely pretty bulky. His attack stat doesn't really suffer too much from a dual skill, and he can still hit pretty hard. Impenetrable Dark is not going to be as relevant as it is in Ether Raids, but still, it's really nice to have honestly. And then we've got Leila, who provides the unique movement utility with her constant dagger, and this pretty much allows her to hit someone, just weaken them down or even kill them, and retreat herself by swapping the position with the support partner. And this is really amazing because in Arena you're going to be running these rally skills, so any kind of movement assist like to change fate or future vision or Yuri's foul play, anything that can help you with your movement is of course going to be much appreciated, which Leila does. Now follow-up is going to be useful in Arena to get past the follow-up negation units so that she can do a lot of damage. And then we've got Eleonora with her conditional fire sweep effect, so you need to invest into her speed so that she can trigger this against most units. Now follow-up against helps her do more damage against the bulky follow-up negation units, and time pulse makes it so that she can have a one charge Ruptured Sky. Ashera is also a mythic unit who can benefit from C Duel Infantry 4, and she's not going to be as bulky as Bramimond, but still she can hit really hard with her order sentence. You can run a lull skill if you want to focus on one shots, but in the chance where she doesn't really one shot a unit, wind sweep can help you just weaken down the bulky opponent safely without really dying. So I really value that on Ashera, and wind sweep is like a pretty nice skill on her in general, even for Ether Raids. So this could be run in Arena as well, depending on which fodder you have. Shinon is really amazing. Again, she hits 175 BST, so keep that disclaimer in mind. He has got the close counter double bow, which makes his matchup so much better than any kind of archer and makes him an extremely unique archer because of the fact that he can also have one turn Deadeye with time pulse. Nina might be a bit surprising, but her Spy Song bow is actually not that bad for arena usage because it can give you true damage, it can also heal her up, and it also gives her +6 to all of her stats. And -1 special cooldown means that she can run Deadeye and Time Pulse and have a one-turn Deadeye, so she definitely has utility with that. Obviously not as good as someone like Shinon, but still, she's a lot more better than you would expect her to be in my opinion. And then we've got Summer Dorothea as the dancer with the courtly fan build. Her offenses are no slouch whatsoever, but again she's going to be taking that hit when it comes to scoring because of the dance skill. But because this is a premium section, I assume that many of you players are not completely free to play and have spent some money or tried to get +10 legendary units. In that sense, it's much easier for you to incorporate a dancer on your team than free to play players because you can pretty much like mitigate the score loss in a sense that you get from this dancer because of your other high scoring units. So this is a pretty fantastic option. And then we've got Xane, who can copy the stats and basically be a big ball of stats. So he can be used with Null Follow Up and also Panic Ploy. A dual skill is pretty nice because he can copy all of the other stats from the allies except for HP, so this increases his HP, so that is really nice. But he doesn't really get anything too unique of an effect that can give him more combat prowess. He basically, again, becomes a big ball of stats, which really depends on the arena core that you have if you have min-max units. And then we've got these 3 healers who are a lot more unique than any other colorless infantry healer. And Loki is about to get a weapon refine, and even without a weapon refine, Loki is extremely helpful with her Thok because she can just slow down these very threatening units like Legendary Leila and like Dual Lift and stuff like that. So that is much appreciated as a long range support. And you have to watch out for Harsh Command again because that could definitely spook you. Mist is basically a support healer who can just destroy the enemy who's going to be within 4 spaces of her by panicking them and debuffing them. And at high investment, I feel like plus speed IV Mist is a lot more helpful because she can also debuff the speed of the opponent, so this can help you in a way, but mainly she's going to be supporting you. And Genny can also hit really hard with her attack stat, but I would say that she's best used with a unit like Yuri or Crom with 2 Change Fate or Legendary Lucina, someone with a movement assist skill because she can hit and run by doing the gravity effect and just freezing the opponent and then retreat with some kind of positional skill and get away from there. So she can be used like that. Last but not least, we have got the colorless infantry dragon and the beast unit. So again, Corrin still has that disclaimer because she can reach 175 BST on her own. And she is a bit weird of a dragon because she wants to be away from her allies, so that can be a bit annoying in arena, but still she can be a pretty strong unit with high speed, high bulk, and you can have null follow up on her, and a men's skill is pretty nice with her kind of playstyle. Unfortunately, she doesn't really have too many options for her special. Dragons cannot have access to Ruptured Sky or Gale Force, and Blue Flame doesn't really fit her playstyle, so either it is. And then Velouria can be a really unique unit who can basically pre-charge a special of an ally and also pre-charge her own Blue Flame with Time Pulse. So that can help with her weapon doing the true damage, the Vodao effect, and she can basically have a pre-charged special on another ally, which can be really good to get going or even set up their special spiral if you're running that kind of skill on the unit. So she's definitely pretty unique among the colorless infantry units. And now finally the time for the premium C Duel Infantry tier list. So again, I've tried my best to stay objective. We just have a lot of units here in the colorless pool. So Brave Marianne is pretty much the best unit out of the entirety of colorless infantry units for this dual skill. Again, make sure to read the disclaimer which I have in the bottom, and it is there for a reason. And then we've got Leila, Shinon, Eleonora, and Bramimond in tier 1. All of them are really unique. Leila provides you with some utility movement. Shinon has got the close counter bow. Eleonora has got the conditional fire sweep effect. Bramimond is extremely bulky, can do auto follow up and function in both phases. And then we move on to tier 2. Summer Dorothea is pretty nice as a dancer with her offenses, but again, the score hit is going to be taken with the dance skill. It's a bit less impactful for people who do have these kinds of premium units and plus 10 merged legendary units. The Julian also has pretty good attack stat, but does not really have a perfect weapon to stand out compared to the other daggers. Louisa's got much better offenses than the archers below her. She unfortunately doesn't have a preferred weapon, so Shinon just does the things better, but still she's pretty nice with her offenses. Nina also has the one-turn Deadeye and can self-heal, do true damage, so that is pretty helpful. Dancer Nefni is also pretty nice as a dancer, can hold her own weight, and she can also support with Fiddlestick Bow, which is a pretty nice support weapon if you stack up just a lot of supportive skill in her Slotzy and also in her Sacred Seal. Ashera finds herself in tier 2 because she can not really function in both phases, and she's not physically as bulky as Bramimond, and she cannot really dance like Brave Marianne. She's still really amazing, but the colorless mages above her definitely have more unique things. Still a pretty nice investment. And then we've got Fallen, Female Corrin, and Velouria. Both of these are kind of unique. Velouria especially for pre-charging the special, and Fallen Female Corrin's stat spread can still stay relevant even in this day and age. And the 3 infantry healers who are unique are going to be standing above all of the other healers And again, healers are not the best investment in terms of scoring, but if you're a whale and you have multiple plus and merge modern pair up units, then you can definitely take that score hit and basically just try to, compensate for that and still use these amazing healers who can provide you with some unique utility. In tier 3, we've got Dancer Xander and Lorem, which do not really have as impressive of stat spread as Summer Dorothea or Dancer Nephne. Jafar, unfortunately, can do that chip damage, can support you, but he doesn't really have that attack power, so this is pretty much the best position for him because all of the other dagger units below him don't even have a preferred weapon, so he just barely hangs on to tier 3 in my opinion. Then we have Bridal Cordelia, and her time is unfortunately gone of the golden offensive stat spread for an archer with a 35-35. It's not year 1 anymore, and there are a lot more archers giving her the competition with preferred weapons and stuff like that, and just more stats, but still she can definitely be built up and can be offensive. Faye and Ines are going to be in tier 3 as well because the units below them just do not have a preferred weapon and are not even going to be that much unique. So again, they just hang on to that. Xane might be a bit controversial in tier 3, but let me explain my reasoning. I've given this a fair amount of thought, and Xane kind of gets overrated many times. And in Arena, you need to make sure that you need to have the allies who can give him these stats, and that is not going to be happening for most players. You need to have a core ready for him so that he can take advantage of them. He's not the kind of colorless infantry mage that you can just slap a dual force skill on like you can do with the other colorless mages here. And you need to make sure that you can position him within 2 spaces of the ally so that he can copy the stats, which can be annoying at times as well, especially if you're trying to manipulate the AI and divide the opponent's units. And there's also the fact that he's basically a big ball of stats, but depends on the support, depends on the team core, and he doesn't get any kind of like unique effect, like maybe null follow-up from his weapon or anything more unique, like additional effect, which can just, future-proof him for long term. His stats will only increase if you increase the stats of the arena core. And you need to have someone like maybe Mila with really min-max defensive stat spread or like plus 10 Brave Edelgard. So you need to have those kinds of specific units, and if you're not having those units in your core, then it's a bit hard to incorporate Xane into your core in my opinion. So that's why I put him in tier 3. Again, this might be a bit controversial, but this is my honest opinion, and I've tried my best to explain my reasoning of why I've placed him there. Again, on paper he looks fantastic, but in practice there are a lot of factors that go into using him, and I can tell because I've used Xane a lot. I actually really like him for his unique factor, but yeah, that's pretty much where I can place him. Then we've got Sarah. She is not as unique as she is in Aetherate, so because of the preferred weapon and her offensive stat spread, she is again hanging on to tier 3. And then in tier 4, we unfortunately have dagger units which do not have a preferred weapon, and they just get outclassed by the dagger units above them. Same goes for the bow units and Resplendent Takumi and Noir. Silk and Mikoto are not really going to be standing out compared to the unique healers with their stat spread. In tier 5, it's just really sad because these are just the year 1 seasonal units, and they just have been long outclassed with their stat spread, and they do not even have anything really unique with their preferred weapons or anything like that which can make them stand out. So that is going to be my tier list for both premium pool and the free-to-play pool. Definitely took me a lot of time, and I believe we just have 2 duel skills left now, which is Green Duel Cavalry 4 and Colorless Flying Duel. So look forward to that whenever they come out, and make sure to share this video with your friends if they are looking forward to using some kind of colorless infantry unit in their arena core, and if they're summoning on the Ashen Wolves banner. I'm sure this video can definitely give them the perspective, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. It took me a lot of time to make. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, and if you really enjoyed it, then you can support me directly by becoming a member of my channel or by using super thanks down below. I want to thank all of my team members for their constant support, and if you want to see more Fate analysis videos, then make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the weapon refines for free to play healers. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.